Welcome, everyone, to another weekly episode of Mark Out Radio. I'm Sean.
And I'm Dana.
And I am finally emerging from my week-long bout with illness. And a decent amount of stuff has happened this week. There's been a lot in the news. And I guess we should jump right into... It's funny because we were discussing what we were going to talk about today, and we were starting to come up with an outline. And you said something like, oh, we need to talk about the Hollywood show. And I kind of was like, we talked about the Hollywood show at length. You know, and here I am thinking you were. I was so out of it. I was off social media. I was basically sleeping all day for the past couple days. And so when you said, "Oh no, I mean, we didn't talk about this," I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And in fact, the Hollywood show was this weekend. It was this weekend, and there was apparently a decent little controversy surrounding that. So I mean, you kind of brought it up to me, and I have a hard time even understanding what the controversy is. So maybe if you can explain it. I have a statement from the Hollywood show that we'll read, and then we'll figure out what we think about it.
Well, if you've been living under the rock that you were living under all this past week, California is just in blazes. Unfortunately, it's probably one of the greater national emergencies and tragedies I can think of. The visuals are stunning. And the Hollywood show, which we discussed last week a bit about, what it is and who they book and the caliber of stars they have, were running a show this weekend, and they apparently were keeping the show going as planned, despite being in the general area, I guess, of the fires. I mean, clearly not that general, or else they would have been on fire too. But it's close enough and a lot of celebrities are canceling, and people are nervous to fly in. I know Greg Izzy was planning on going, and now this whole thing, that's what initially put this on my radar. He was complaining about it in one of our group chats, just that, he's canceled his trip with everything going on. So you don't have any, from what you've seen, you don't really understand the controversy as far as the show going on?
I mean, I guess the truth is, when something like this happens, there will be a financial loss here, right? So it's really, really, when you're debating whether events should go on, what you're really debating is who should absorb the financial loss. Do you want it to be yourself, or do you want it to be whoever it is, or do you want it to be someone else? And so clearly, some of the fans who would be traveling long distances or who bought tickets to see celebrities who had canceled, they are concerned with themselves, right? They don't want to absorb the losses that naturally occur when something like this happens. Some of the other fans, though, or some of the less celebrities themselves who are still planning on attending, would have to absorb a loss if the show were then canceled. And then, so it's really a question of who ought to absorb a loss for this show, or when anything happens like that, who should be the one absorbing the loss? And because there is someone who will lose in a situation like this. So I understand why the show promoters decided to hold the show, because there were people, they said, who were flown in from out of the country or from out of the state days earlier who were there. There were celebrities who were there already. There were celebrities who were driving in who were who were relying on that income, and so there is a question of who needs to pay the piper when it comes to an issue, I guess, an incident like this. It's very sad, obviously, whenever there's a natural disaster, but it's not like you can control natural disasters. And I know we live in now that I think part of this is social media driven to some extent, where we feel like anytime there's any kind of incident or problem or circumstance that might lead to people having facing a loss or being inconvenienced or losing money, that we ought to either collectively absorb that loss, or we ought to have I don't know, just right away rush to cancel. And that really flies in the face of history. For a really long time, basically, shows went on pretty much in the face of just about anything. There's a reason why the show must go on has been an adage for a long time, And so I sympathize with people who wanted to travel or who were going and who prepaid for tickets, and all of a sudden the slate of celebrities who were going to be there was a lot smaller than originally promised because a lot had canceled. I sympathize, but at the same time, sorry. What do you want? And that's my feeling on it. And that's why I was kind of surprised there was a lot of hullabaloo about it, because I don't really know what you wanted people to do. Like what happens to the 90-year-old TV star who relies on this quarterly check from Hollywood show to eat? You know what I mean? Like I don't understand why we're supposed to just assume that person shouldn't be working. I mean, do you think differently?
I think there's a possible need for a showrunner to have the greater safety of their attendees in mind. But reading their statement and seeing the general answer that they had to the crisis, I feel like they've done enough. They're giving people the opportunity to use their admission tickets for future shows, which is a pretty, I think, a pretty fair and reasonable compromise. They're not forcing you to get on a plane. They didn't cause these fires. At least I hope they didn't cause these fires.
They're playing the long game.
Yeah, exactly. But I don't really see what else they could do. I understand why people are perhaps upset. I understand people complain about everything in today's day and age. So, I mean, why not this? But I feel like, having seen their response, they kind of handled it about as well as possible.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just read an excerpt of their response. So they said, they do a lot of platitudes, which I'm going to ignore. So it says, we gave strong consideration into canceling the show. Some have suggested that we simply could have moved it a few weeks into the future, but that would not have been possible. Venues get booked out sometimes a year in advance, and schedules of celebrities, especially as many as we bring, are very difficult to nail down. Some of you may have heard that our friends and guests Marta Kristen and Vernon Wells had their homes burned down. What you may not know is both of them contacted us, being adamant that they wanted to come this weekend despite this. In fact, nearly all of our celebrities that we've been announcing for the last several months are still confirmed to come as of now. That could change, but so far the effects of the fire have been minimal in terms of the amount of celebrities committed to come. Then we have our valued attendees, you the public, who've planned and been excited for this weekend. Some of you have decided to cancel your plans to attend, but so many of you reached out and expressed that you still wish to attend, even given the circumstances. And I'm going to skip ahead a little bit. So after looking at all angles and listening to the input from so many of you, we decided the responsible thing would be to hold the show to allow those celebrities and attendees that wish to come to be able to do so. I don't see anything wrong with it. I really don't. I can't believe that anyone's health and safety is being acutely impacted by the holding of a autograph convention. I think that's just an absurd assertion that's not possibly provable. I mean, if you really believe that you are in some danger for going to this, then the obvious answer is to not go. I really like. I know I was like really sort of dumbfounded by anyone's issue with this, I guess.
I feel like a lot of the issue might be from people that just have a very poor grasp on geography, and they are envisioning like flames all around the hotel, and like the convention must go on. Like, clearly this is not in that zone of where the fire is happening, or else the hotel wouldn't have it, let alone the show. It wouldn't even be up to the show or anything. So it's not that. It's up to people individually if they want to come or not. And I think they're doing a decent enough job by the people that choose to not come to at least make right by their investment.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think that's a pretty damn good deal, to be honest, to be able to use your ticket in a future show. That's certainly going to cost the show organizers some money to do that. I don't know. It's like I hate being the one to defend these promoters, because most of them are just liars or idiots or whatever. But in this case, I for the life of me, I don't see a problem with this at all. When you these people, I understand there are some issues with fire insurance, that people's fire insurance is being was not being honored and stuff like that. I understand that, but most of these people, especially the people who are working the show, and this is a really important thing to understand, and a lot of people really don't understand this. The celebrities who work these cons rely on this money as their income. For many of them, it is their primary source of income. And so your insistence that this that this show get canceled can cause them genuine financial harm, and it's just true. Whether you want to believe it or not, that's a reality. These people were not paid a lot of money, or they have financial obligations that are high, or whatever they can over their personal finances. But they rely. This is their income. Like it or not, to take it or leave it. This is what their income is, and so to cancel on them, it means they feel it, and at the end of the day, if you pay $40, I don't even know what admission for Hollywood show is. I'm guessing it's $40 or in that ballpark.
It's
you could
gotta
probably
be.
look it up because it's pre-order tickets. A pass is $40 for the day. It's early bird. $30, $30 per day, $50 for the weekend. So if you're forced to lose that money or use that money for a different show, sorry, but things happen. It's kind of funny because I remember getting to an argument. This is going to be totally random, but I swear it's the same point. I remember getting into an argument a few years ago during COVID. I run a big field trip where I work for my school, and a kid had contracted COVID the day of the field trip and was, as a result, unable to go. And basically the parent wanted to send the kid anyway. And I was like, no, you can't do that. You can't. No, the answer is, I'm sorry. I feel bad for you, but you can't go. Right. The world sometimes is unfair. I get it. And then they were complaining that I couldn't give them their money back. And I'm like, but the money was already spent. And like, yeah, but it's not fair because, my kid didn't get COVID on purpose. And I'm like, listen, and I use this analogy. Listen, if your kid was the day of the field trip walking out the door and tripped down the stairs and sprained their ankle, they wouldn't be able to go, right? And it is what it is. It's an act of God. It's nature. It's unfair. No one feels good about it. But at the end of the day, there are things that happen in the world, in the universe, whatever, that sometimes prevent us from doing what we would like to do. And in this case, yeah, there are fires in some part of California that are near, in some reasonable proximity to where the show is being held. They're not close enough where they acutely prevent it from being held, but they are close enough to where they might cause some people some traffic difficulties. I'm sorry, but some things just happen. That's how the world works. I don't know the other way to say it. That just happens sometimes, and it's unfortunate, but lots of things that happen in your life at some point. Like, I can't believe people they have amazing luck that they never have bad luck things happen to them like this. Things happen sometimes. Look, case in point. I missed the Sopranos thing we were supposed to go to on Saturday night because I was sick. It happens. Believe it or not, I didn't post about it complaining and demanding to give me my money back.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm sure there's going to be some fans out there that will put themselves in harm's way as a result of trying to get to this show. Much like perhaps we did, which I think this could actually be an episode one day.
You're going to talk about Columbus.
Yes, Columbus, Ohio for Arnold. Are there people doing crazy things getting to this show? Perhaps, like we did. But that's not on the showrunner. The showrunner is not there to prevent people from their own stupidity entirely. If you have a reasonable enough level of safety at the event, and they choose to have it based on attendance of celebrities and whatnot, and they're making it right by people that don't feel comfortable to go, I have no problem with it either.
I mean, it's like I've said many times before, it's a luxury hobby. If you can't afford to eat a $50 ticket, this hobby is not for you. You shouldn't be in it. And that's it. You shouldn't. And I know that and we've talked about it before, this hobby does appeal to people who are of limited means, and is an interesting demographic truth. But at the same time, no one needs this stuff to eat. No one is surviving. Ironically, except the people who were signing the autographs. That's the irony, is that the fans here do not need this stuff to survive, but the celebrities actually do. Any last thoughts on the Hollywood show?
No, I think that pretty much covered it.
I think that I'm actually kind of glad they held it. I'm sort of one of these people who believes that you ought to keep soldiering on in the face of adversity. Maybe that's a flaw of mine. I don't like the idea that people are so quick. People want to just cancel things all the time. I think there's a time and a place for canceling things where there's like, I don't know. I haven't given it an incredible amount of thought. What would it take to cancel an autograph show? But yeah, and I don't think this is it, especially if there are people, who are directly affected by it, who are asking for the show to continue because that's in their financial best interest. I don't have a problem with that.
Watch, you say that now, and then tomorrow news breaks that like Anne Margaret was killed by some fire related tragedy.
It's funny. And Margaret's it's so great because a lot of the thing on Facebook was about her like insisting she was coming and tracking her progress. And Margaret's a loop. She's loopy, man. Did you meet her at Chiller that time years ago?
No, I wish.
Oh man,
I got that one.
I did, and it was the strangest because I mean that was one of her first. Either one of her first East Coast cons or maybe one of her first cons. It was years ago. But I liked Anne Margaret she actually has a bit part in this really fun straight to DVD movie that I really like called Interstate 60, which was Interstate 60 was a casualty of 9/11. It was supposed to be released in 2001. It lost distribution. It came out in DVD in 2002. Whatever, doesn't matter. But I liked her for this bit part. I was super excited that she got announced. And then when we got there, they put her in a private room, so off to the side. Back when that was still an unusual thing for Chiller, now it's like everyone has that. Back then it was a little bit unusual. They put her in a private room, and there was no photography allowed in the room whatsoever, and no photo ops were allowed, and all autographs had to be personalized. So that was oh God, 08 maybe, something in that ballpark. So there were people pulling this kind of weird shenanigans back then. And I remember, she took one look at my Interstate 60 poster, and she clearly had absolutely no idea what she was signing, and she didn't really care. She was very nice about it, but I did. It was an amusing interaction.
That's wild, though. Back in 08, she wasn't doing photo ops, and now you got her 17 years later, clearly a lot more decrepit than she was in 2008, and she's busy. I saw she was taking pro ops over there, and
I think back then, the concept of the photo op, especially to these really old timey actors, they didn't really understand what it was or what the value of it was. They really didn't, and I mean, now they do. And now that's their whole draw. I mean, and look, Anne Margaret's fans have to be able to post on Facebook that they met her. But it's just funny how I remember that and being really disappointed. So I don't, even though I met her and I have her autograph on a poster, I have no photo op with Anne Margaret, and there's a pretty good chance I never will.
Should have flown out to the Hollywood show.
Yeah, I mean, apparently I couldn't. Apparently, flights were problematic, but I probably would have gotten stopped trying to get on the airplane anyway. So you can hear the way I sound. So to segue in, I guess we'll do your Papa Shango signing first, and then we'll get into the Sopranos thing. So you had the Papa Shango, or the Godfather, or whatever you want to call him, Charles Wright. There was something today, right?
Yeah, he was down at the KNS Sportatorium, and when I rolled in, you've been in the Sportatorium before, right?
I have squeezed through those halls. Yeah.
Well, Ken actually invested in shelves. He has actual shelves now in the Sportatorium. When I walked in, if I didn't see Charles Wright at the door when I walked through the doors, I would have thought, where the hell am I? He had shelves. His stuff was like organized a bit. Ken's moving up.
It's a facility. The facility was upgraded.
Yeah, the Sportatorium's running on a whole new system now. He's and don't think I'm just talking trash behind his back, listeners. I made these exact same jokes to his face. It looked good though. It looked really good. Charles Wright, Papa Shango. You are probably too old for this. I absolutely love the Papa Shango character.
Yeah, I think it's stupid.
This is during your dark era. You didn't like any of those gimmicks. And
I believe we've. I mean, not that people want to care about this, but I believe I've told you this. I actually stopped watching wrestling between WrestleMania 6 and seeing ECW on MSG in like 97. So I that whole period from 91 to 97, I stopped watching wrestling. All because Hulk Hogan lost to the Ultimate Warrior at WrestleMania 6. That's true.
And that's my golden era, literally. Like that's exactly where like my like top fandom came from. But yeah, so anything Papa Shango I won. So I had the Hasbro, I had the Ultimate, which is just insane. I had the like little, what the hell are they called? The He-Man style figure, and then I had a Kama Target Legends Elite. And leave it to Ken. Ken created this whole thing, which was genius. The Papa Shango Ultimate came in a 2-pack with the Ultimate Warrior one. It's like depicting that classic feud and the curse on the Ultimate Warrior.
Did
And
it have vomit? Did it have plastic vomit in there and stuff?
no, I wish.
Eh.
Mitch would have made plastic vomit in one of the grapplers and gimmicks figures, but not Mitch. But Warrior is dead, and there are some vendors out there that could still get you some stuff signed by the Ultimate Warrior even today. But
yeah,
Ken's not one of those. Ken's actually an honest vendor. But he had the idea where he sold the Amazon exclusive 2-pack, and he had Shango sign it and inscribe like I cursed the Ultimate Warrior. And I sold my Ultimate Warrior one long before Ken even made this whole thing, so I didn't even think of it. But it looked kind of cool. And I always respect Ken coming up with new ways to make money. So that was pretty interesting.
that is neat. So yeah. How to go overall? I mean, I know his reputation. He's always super nice, right?
Yeah, he's always cool. The last time I met him, Star was with me, and he talked to us for like 20 minutes. He's always cool. He signed all my stuff perfectly. I think he actually double signed my Hasbro. I'm not sure why. I made him do the blue pen for Papa Shango and then red pen for Beware of Voodoo. And then I think he signed it again under the Beware of Voodoo. It kind of bothers me, but like I don't care. It's fine. But yeah, no complaints. Always a great time.
Does that hamper its validity at all, or its correctness?
I don't think it hampers the validity, but I mean, if I was going to sell it, it would probably bother someone. Like I'm sure Brian Myers wouldn't slap it on his wall, double signed. There are some of the Hasbro collectors are very picky about what they put up. I don't mind, and I wouldn't sell it. My life would have to be pretty bad if I was going to start selling my Hasbros. So I'm not too worried. But yeah, always a smooth time at the Sportatorium, and Charles is awesome. So no complaints.
So let's start complaining then.
Yeah, exactly.
So there was an event at the Patchogue Theater, and they've done events similar like to this event where it was 3 guys from The Sopranos. It was Michael Imperioli, Steve Sciarippa, and Vinny Pastore, right? Those 3.
Yeah, that was.
And those, and look, those were all. I mean, look, Pastore was a main guy from The Sopranos, but Imperioli's one of the top 5 from the series. The other one, Sciarippa, only came in the second half of the series and was definitely on the downswing. He wasn't as meaningful, I think, as the other 2. You gonna disagree with that, or that's fair?
No, I was actually, while watching this event, I was thinking that. I don't want to go deep into The Sopranos, because, I mean, we may have a couple listeners out there that aren't up on the greatest television show known to man, that I don't want to bore them. But you had, I know that was a show where people die, like, routinely, sort of like 90s WWF, but you had one guy that, now I feel bad that I'm like spoiling this show, but I mean 25 years, I think it's okay.
You're fine.
You had one guy who died in season 2, and you have another guy who like joined in season 3, and there's a lot of gaps there. Like I would have preferred that they could have had more tenured people doing this whole like podcast, traveling show, what have you. Because I mean, Pastore didn't have a ton to really say. He kept talking about the same couple of scenes he had that were key, and then just complained about the sour grapes he'd had for being killed off, which was kind of funny to hear. But
yeah. So anyway, the way they sold this show was that there would be a meet and greet attached to it. This venue does meet and greets pretty often, and there is kind of the same group of people who run them. They facilitate them for the venue. I guess the word is that. We checked in other venues. This is something where when they run the show elsewhere, they run meet and greets, and as is pretty common with the meet and greet at run by these guys. There was not really a hell of a lot of information.
No.
On the meet and greet when it was for sale, and so when you kind of get, we've talked about meet and greets and what your expectations of a meet and greet are, and in this context, for people of this stature, when you see meet and greet, well, you tell me, when you see a meet and greet advertised for people of this stature, what do you assume you're getting for your money?
I assume I'm getting an autograph of some kind. If they want to play some stupid hardball that you can't get your own item signed, it should at least be some dumb item they provide. Like, there's
You're getting an autograph and a photo op, right?
Yeah,
that's what you're.
absolutely.
Yeah, and so I mean that was right. That was true of William H. Macy. That's what we got. That was true of when you have Peter Billingsley, right? That's what you get.
Yeah,
and it's always what you get, and unless it's specifically advertised that you don't get that. And so I remember I was a couple, I don't know, was it a week ago or 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago? It was a while ago. I was Googling around about other meet and greets for this show. Not at the no, it was at this venue. It might have been last year or 2 years ago. They've run this thing before.
Yeah, they said that last night.
And when I looked it up, there was a note. I can't remember where the meet and greet was, but it was whatever. It doesn't really matter. And it said, Michael Imperioli will not sign Funko Pops. And so I remember reading that, and I was like, okay, well, that was on a different venue. Our venue didn't say anything about that in the email. And so, but I did bring it up to you, and I just said, oh, you better bring your book instead, because who knows what he'll do.
Yeah, so I had my book, and this book is, I got Gandolfini on this book, I got Stevie Van Zandt, I have a ton of people on the book. So I figured, okay, and plus you were sick, so the Funko was locked in with you. You had to miss
I had no dog in this hunt. I was home. I didn't even go. So, but I still was rooting for you.
Yeah, and I get there, and our pal from Looney Tunes, who runs the events here, he did his usual check-in spiel. Amusingly enough, I feel like that guy has no recollection. He never remembers me from event to event, which is funny because he sees me like 15 times a year. But he never
honestly, you're better off.
I'm sure. But anyway, so he ran through the spiel. No selfies. People will be up there to take your photo. So on. Then he's like, also, they are not signing any autographs. And I guess my face doesn't really hide what I'm feeling. So I guess my face showed what I was feeling. And he goes, oh, it's them, not us. That's their policy, which it probably was. I mean, I don't imagine this theater, when they had other people signing, would really care to enforce it with them if they were willing to just sign something. So that kind of took the wind out of my sails. I walked down to our row. The only thing that made me smile was that you weren't there, and I had the open seat, so I could throw my crap on your seat. And I got to take the aisle seat. That was pretty nice. But that sucked. I mean, I bought this ticket for the autographs, which I guess was probably a stupid move in hindsight. But I figured, meet and greet combo is expected. I'll add them to my book. That'll be very nice. So I sat there. The event started. On a scale of 1 to 10, how sad are you that you missed the event portion of the evening?
0.
Yeah. I love The Sopranos. I probably watched it 9-10 times, something like that in total, start to finish.
I loved it too, but I also don't. I know. Look, I have a thing, right? I believe that Michael Imperioli is actually one of the reasons why The Sopranos went downhill. Because in my opinion, the quality of the episodes started to decrease pretty dramatically when he was made head writer of the show. Fight me about that, because that is what I believe. And then not only that, and you I think will agree with this if you look at the credits. The screen time that Christopher, who was my least favorite character on the show, got dramatically increased after Michael Imperioli became head writer of the show.
That's fair. I would argue there really wasn't a steep decline. Like, I'm well aware that a lot of the stuff with Vito and those seasons were not the greatest, which I guess in and of itself is a decline. But I don't look at it and be like, oh, these seasons or this episode. Like, I'm happy to watch any season, any episode at any given time. I'm blinded by my love of this show. So like, there's nothing I dislike, but that's fair. It wasn't season 1 greatness all the way through. And I guess Imperioli's fingerprints are on that, even if I enjoyed his character. But anyway, the event was what you would expect. It was the stories I heard. It was mostly stuff I knew. There were a few anecdotes that I'm not going to bore the listeners with that I thought were fascinating. The audience questions were about as dumb as you would expect. There was one fan that was asking about the Michael Gandolfini reboot prequel series that was debunked like numerous times. That guy was stunned to find out it wasn't true. There was one crazy woman that was asking some question about Drea De Matteo's death on the show, and you could tell she was crazy because she was like audibly making noises while waiting her turn to ask the question, because they had people up in the aisles by a microphone, like waiting to get up there.
So you could they're giving away the plot.
Yeah. So I mean, a lot of the audience questions sucked. The only questions of any value were a couple of like aspiring actors that were just asking, and even those questions were cliche. But I didn't feel like blowing my brains out, at least. But yeah, it wasn't amazing. Then they did the same thing that they did the time that we had Macy, where they basically said to everyone to get up from like the center row and go take a seat on the right hand side. So we did that. There were a couple of people in the crowd that had items. There was like an older gentleman with the Sopranos book that's Imperioli and Sharippa wrote, which I figured if anything was going to get signed, that would be the item. Because, I mean, they sold so many signed copies as it was. Like, why wouldn't you sign it? And wouldn't you know it, when that guy was going up on the stage, he like handed off his coat to the Looney Tunes guy, who ran it over where you could pick it up on your like descent from the stage. And I'm like, oh, whoa, he's getting up to it, the book. And of course, they like intercepted him and they told him something. And I'm sure if you're class 316, you probably would have insisted that you just wanted to hold it for the photo, and then you could have shoved it in their face and screamed and squealed and hyperventilated. Maybe it would have gotten done. As we've discussed, I'm not like there's probably things in this hobby I would do that for. This isn't it. If I had a chance, if hyperventilating and begging is going to get me Bill Murray, if it's going down the tubes in a few weeks, I'll do it. But I'm not going to do it for this. So I just, after I saw that they didn't even let the guy on stage with his book, I just handed off my backpack, went up on the stage, took my photo, which the photo turned out fine, but they left the stupid house lights on that were red. So it kind of looks like we all have like Chucky the doll hair, like all our hair looks red. That was bizarre. Like Steve Shripper's got a bit of a Rudolph nose. Like it was all just,
it's a Mickey Mouse operation.
Yeah. I walked out of the event feeling meh. And then I realized I forgot how much we spent on it. That was like $185.
Yes, it was very expensive.
Yeah. So as I was screenshotting my ticket, I'm like, oh crap, I spent $185 on this. And in all honesty, I have no one to blame but myself for spending that much money on repeats for an autograph. I should have just waited for them to do Chiller to get the autographs, or just not had the autographs total. So I guess you live and you learn.
I think the interesting takeaway though is that they're really getting pretty ballsy with advertising a meet and greet, not specifying what you get. People show up and they go, "Oh yeah, no autographs." I think people would have been within their rights to audibly complain and cause a little bit of a ruckus. But you said that basically because of who the audience was, that was just not going to happen.
Yeah, it was all like I was third row, first row. I saw there were a bunch of tickets. Congressman Nick LaLota, you probably don't even know him. Our listeners damn sure don't. But like there were a bunch of seats from the congressman. So you had the congressman's people. You had people that won tickets from the congressman. I don't know how that happened. You had a bunch of old like Italian people. Basically, all that to say, you didn't see Jeremiah sitting there. You didn't see people that actually do this hobby seriously. It was mainly just the people on Long Island that wanted to meet the Sopranos. They didn't know any better. I was probably the closest thing you had really to I was the only veteran in the crowd, and I wasn't going to, at that point, what are you really going to do? It is what it is. But I agree with you. There's a way to label what that was in a more accurate way. A Q&A session with a post-show photo op. Boom. That's simple. That's clear. That's
if nothing else, it was more like the Macaulay Culkin thing.
Yeah,
and no one was there expecting him to sign. No one did.
Exactly. Yeah, I knew what that was, and I left. And granted, listen, house lights on, red noses aside, if I needed even one of these people on a fresh photo op level, I would have left that night feeling satisfied. I feel less than satisfied because I didn't need the photos and I didn't get what I needed. But that's on me to some degree. It's also on them, I think, for not advertising it clearly, because I wouldn't have done it.
Yeah, that makes sense. So if you're shopping for autographs, check out www.markedoutcollectibles.com or our eBay store at Marked Out Collectibles. To contact us for any reason, please email markedoutcollectibles@gmail.com or join the Marked Out Collectibles official marketplace on Facebook. All links are in the show notes on Facebook and Substack. And why don't you talk about that January 26th PWJ Damaged Goods show is coming up real soon.
It is on January 26th in Ridgefield Park, New Jersey. We have the Pro Wrestling Junkie is running Damaged Goods. They have talent from the WWE ID list, the prospects. They have Zeta Steel. They have Marcus Mathers. They have Jackson Drake. They have Trevor Lee. They have Deonna Purrazzo. They got all sorts of amazing talent. We are going to be there.
Which is probably the most important thing, right? Yeah.
Oh, yeah. You can see all these people, but come see us. We will be there. We're going to have stuff. We are going to have values and steals and deals that we couldn't even do on Facebook. We would lose our shirts, but not today, but at that show, we have no overhead. So bring your cash and get some deals that you will not believe.
What are we charging for a combo with you?
Combo with me. I mean, I think we should do Ira prices when we did Ira at Legends of the Ring 10 years ago in the graduation suit. We did $5. $5 combo, yes.
$5 combo. That you heard it here first, so that's a bargain. No, seriously, if you're around, please say hello. We're going to be at the show with a table. We're going to be running with, we're going to be done with our guests before the show, our signings and stuff. So we're going to be hanging out, doing merch during the show, and we're going to be seeing a great spectacle. So we're pretty excited about that.
Oh, and you're a lot more optimistic than I am. I don't even know if we're going to be done before the show. We might be pulling people after their matches. We have a lot to do.
I know. I think we'll be done pretty quick. I think these guys are pros, and we'll be good. Yeah. Good with that. Good about it.
Absolutely.
So also, if you want your event, product, or brand advertised on episodes of Marked Out Radio, please reach out to us today at markedoutcollectibles@gmail.com. So I got to tell you, I have a funny story. I mean, Dana knows because we do share the email box for markedoutcollectibles@gmail.com. And we did actually have someone reach out.
I'm still confused by it.
Not really in the spirit that we were looking for, but I mean, on one level, I respect the hustle, but on another level, the whole thing is fascinating to me. So, and I'm not going to use the person's name because really that's what they want more than anything else, and that's not something I'm going to do. But we more or less had someone, and if you have experience with this, I need to know. Because I've never heard of this before. Dana, you said you never heard of it before. It sounds weird. No. So someone sent an email and said, "Hey, do you sponsor wrestlers or hire guests for your podcast?" And they gave their Instagram. And what the Instagram is for a female wrestler of sorts. And I say wrestler of sorts because it's someone who's like peripherally been on the indie scene for about a decade. And who's clearly their primary source of income looks to be like OnlyFans and selling things to fans and things like that, and obviously trying to build parasocial relationships to market their body and pictures of their body to men on the internet. That's kind of what the vibe I got was. And so
you left out the most important word though. They didn't just say hey. They said hey, love.
Well, I was trying to. So in case I could try and mask who it was, I didn't know if that was something they always did. So I purposely.
I'm throwing. Listen, if you're sending an email with "Hey, love," there's some nastiness going on. Like this isn't even a text message. This is an email.
Yeah, and I think it's really funny because I understand what this is, right? This is someone who is trying to get paid to do nothing, right? And look, anytime someone is trying to get paid to do nothing, I there's always those people who say I respect the hustle and whatnot. So no, we're not interested in sponsoring a wrestler, which is
I don't even get what that means. How do you sponsor a wrestler? Do you? I don't get it.
I mean, if they want to tattoo my name on their face and go out there or something, I mean, listen, that wouldn't even work for me, brother, unless it's on television. What is she going to tattoo marked out on her upper thigh by her ass cheek? And then when the 18 people in the audience see her ass cheek, then what? Then they get. I don't even know what that looks like. Or maybe
I think I figured it out. we should get a QR code, our QR code for our store, like as a tramp stamp on this woman's back. And then, any of the men he's with can just sort of scan the QR code and they can buy something, like, while enjoying our friend here.
I mean, I'm not making any claims that she's doing anything physically with anyone, but there's this whole, clearly again leaning heavily on the OnlyFans thing, and I don't know to what extent. I'm not paying for this to see to what extent she, is dressed on OnlyFans. I don't really care, to be honest. I just think
I
it's
couldn't care
funny.
less.
No, I just think it's funny that she either wants to be paid to do nothing or be paid to come on a podcast that, I know we're not exactly setting the world on fire in terms of listens and views and stuff, but I'm pretty confident that that paying her to come on here wouldn't benefit me in any way. So this is really just like a weird thing. And so if this is your intent, if you're look, we want guests to come on, and we will have more guests soon, who are from the autograph collecting world or from the promoting world, or things like that. Those are the guests we're interested in. We're not interested in paying you to come on here and try to open up new avenues for you to sell pictures of yourself on the internet. That's not what we're trying to do, and we're also absolutely not trying to sponsor any indie wrestlers. I can't.
I'm wondering if she actually listens. If you're listening out there, send us an email with the code word "hussy."
Yeah, it has a new meaning now.
That code worked well before, so let's try it one more time. HUSSEY.
Just explain what that. I really want to know. Look, there is, just to be clear, there is a 0% chance that I'm spending any money on this whatsoever. But I want to know what sponsoring a wrestler looks like. Because I really think it's something, untoward.
You're saying it's not legal. It's not legal in most states.
I'm not saying it's not legal. I'm just saying that it's something that is probably not, safe for work. I don't really get the whole thing. I know that this business, autograph business and the wrestling business, they're all hand in hand, and there's lots of stuff where people pay for proximity to what they perceive as fame, or we've joked often about guys who pay for photo ops. Really, that just is a way for them to stand next to a girl who otherwise would never give them the time of day in real life. And these are the kind of things that we've joked about many times over the course of the years and stuff. But you see how these guys can get taken advantage of, and yeah, there's a lot of people out there who are trying to separate fools from their money. If you're going to spend your money stupidly, at least buy like a beautiful Olivia Hussey print from us, since we're the only place to buy one on the internet. Don't spend money on this parasocial relationship with this woman who surely looks at you with absolute contempt and disgust, but has to pretend not to when she's talking to you. So I don't know.
Speaking of spending money, how is your selling of the collection going?
So yeah, I tried to do something a little bit different than what I did in the past and how we usually sell our stuff. So if you've been looking at our marked out collectibles eBay store, you haven't seen anything. I've been listing my collection on my NY collectibles store, and the reason why I'm doing that is because I'm listing things for auction as opposed to for buy it now. With the exception of a couple of things. So I'm going through, and I'm not racing through it. I'm going through pretty slowly, and I'm just selling piece by piece via auction. So everything is going to go except a very, very, very small amount. And it's very interesting because I'll give you an example. So I have had certain things went for way below what I would expect them to go for, or didn't sell at all when they were priced at very, very low starting bids, and other things went for more than I expected. So it's really kind of hard to gauge. For example, sorry, I'm having a little bit of an allergy thing. I had this Jack Skellington Funko Pop signed by Chris Sarandon, who is the non-singing voice of Jack Skellington in Nightmare Before Christmas. It's been sitting on eBay for like 3 years, and I have been lowering my buy it now price steadily over the years, and it's gone from like 150 to 110 to, and I want to say it was like in the ballpark of $85 when I listed it for auction. And what did it close at? $98, I think.
Yeah,
Um,
$98.
so it actually closed higher at auction than it was sitting for buy it now forever. And I honestly would have taken a $75 buy it now on that a year ago. I've been sitting on it forever. I originally bought it for resale, and I don't really care about that movie or anything, and was happy to just get rid of it. Other things, I had other things go way under value. I had some. I had a Kathy Najimy 3-pack Sanderson Sisters signed by her with a quote. Go for $40 with JSA, which is like
I was tempted to buy that.
You can barely get the 3-pack unsigned for $40. So I mean, look, God bless. At the end of the day, I had made my New Year's resolution was to get rid of the majority of my collection, and that's what I'm going to do. And I'm sticking to it.
Like most New Year's resolutions, you're not going to just quit doing this by like February.
No, I mean, I have my first wave of auctions ended. I'm gonna start my next one this week. I have to ship out like 20 something boxes, from the first wave. It's annoying to keep everything going all at once, and there's a lot to keep track of. And I also have to make sure I don't run out of boxes, because that's a potential issue as well. I have enough boxes to do this when everything goes out the same day. But it's interesting because you and I had the conversation as to whether I wanted to do an auction or buy it now, because one of the things that we do for Marked Out Collectibles, we don't do auctions at all. We only do buy it nows with best offers, and that was a decision we made when it came time to figuring out how we were going to sell our stuff. And I guess we can walk through, because there are some vendors and there are some autograph salespeople, for lack of a better word, who have different philosophies on this.
They're very different things.
So why do you like the buy it now model?
I like the buy it now model because you have a little bit more control. Like, I sort of view an auction, it's sort of you're bungee jumping, and you're just going to hope that the cord doesn't snap and you don't just splatter on the ground. With a buy it now, you may hold it for a year and a half. You are in control of either it sells at the price you want, or if they send you an offer, you are filtering these offers and you are deciding what you accept and what you decline. The auction is a very unstable mistress, if you will.
So my logic was I set my minimum bid at the price I wasn't setting things at 99 cents, or I was setting my minimum price, my low bid at the lowest I would accept for the item. So I went in there with open eyes, knowing that certain items weren't going to go very high. My point is, I wanted to force myself to sell them. Part of this was me disabusing myself of the fantasy that some of this crap is actually worth something that it's not. And so I wanted to get rid of a bunch of it to kind of prove that to myself, that, a lot of this stuff, I may find some kind of, for lack of a better word, sucker in a year or 2 years or 5 years or whatever to buy it. But I don't want to be holding the stuff anymore. I have too much. And so there are certain things I put up with very, very high buy it now prices with no auctions. So, for example, I put up my Patrick Stewart's. I put up my Patrick Stewart's up for $2,000 each.
I'm shocked you put those up.
Well, I mean, I would sell them for $2,000 each. $2,000 is a lot of money.
That's fair. I mean, if you sell that one, if you sell the one Patrick Stewart, you got to sell that whole next generation set.
Yeah, I mean, look, I do have the whole next generation set of Funkos signed. They're very cool. I mean, they're cool on some level, I guess. One of the pieces of it that's going to bother me, and this is going to sound deranged, which is, I mean, why I do this podcast anyway, is that LeVar Burton didn't put a quote on his, so all the other ones have quotes except his, and that makes the collection slightly tainted, and so I don't really feel anything bad about selling it, but that's actually true, which is, I know, again, demented, but that's how I feel, and so I'm not like losing any sleep over getting rid of it. But whatever. I mean, I'll put those up near the end. Again, I have so much that if I'm it's going to take me a few months, even listing at the pace that I'm listing at. And I want to start picking up the pace actually, because I really want to start just getting rid of it. So much of it has been sitting here for years. There was stuff that, I mean, I actually have, and if anyone is interested, I have a stack here of, actually, this is not even of the full stack, but I have a stack of stuff that I've been holding that I bought for cons to get signed, but the person canceled or no showed or whatever, and then I haven't seen them back. So like, I have my Jennifer Grey stuff from that time that we were going to Steel City that she canceled, and I have stuff from people. Remember from the what was his name? What's the guy? Patrick Warburton, the guy who was on Seinfeld, and he was from The Emperor's New Groove, and I had a bunch of stuff for him. But at the time, his autograph price, his table price was low, but his resale price was high. And now I know why. Is because the guy doesn't show up at cons, and he canceled a bunch of appearances, and I never got him. And I have stuff that I want to get rid of, and I have some other stuff that I've been holding on to for a while, or like I bought a bunch of stuff in a lot, and then I've been sitting on it. So I have a whole stack of unsigned stuff, unsigned Funkos that I'm going to try and unload very, very cheap locally. I don't know who lives around here, but I was thinking of doing like a thing where like $10 each, 2 for 15, and then for these commons, and then like the whole bunch for something like $3 or $4 each. And these are they're the PPG on these is all $10 and up. So I just want them out. But the autographs, and I don't need to sell any of my flats because my flats are all secure. It's not about the flats. It's really about the stuff, the 3D stuff that's taking up space that I have that I have nowhere to put.
So despite your price to move listings, are you still encountering any like low ball tire kicker type harassment?
Endlessly. In fact, while you and I are speaking at this moment, there is someone bothering me about something that where first of all, my prices, my opening bid prices are low. They just are. They're low. And so there's an item that the starting price is $99, and the buy it now is $149. And I'm telling you, a day after I listed it, this person, I'm assuming it's a male. I think it's a safe assumption in this hobby, offered me $80 for it on eBay. Now, if you know anything about eBay, that you know that $80 after fees is 60 something dollars. Especially if you're not. So he offered me 80 plus shipping for it, and I'm like, no, like leave me alone, like let the auction go, and it didn't sell at 100, which I'm not surprised about, because this person, who, while they're pretty rare and they do have a pretty decent role in a pretty decent movie, they're really not in the news right now, and I could see why they haven't gotten a lot of search traffic for them. But it's a good item with a very rare inscription. And making a very long story short, this guy, it continues to email me. So his recent thing is to offer me $100 shipped for it. But again, it's $100 on eBay. I mean, that it's okay. That's what my minimum bid is, but I'm not ending it early for you, man. Just like, then win the auction, yo. Like leave me alone. It's a constant. I get the constant sob stories. I have people sending messages. Oh, I can bid on this, but I can't pay for 2 weeks. And it's like, what are you doing? No, if you can't pay for an autographed Funko Pop that I'm selling $40 below frickin' retail value, you can't pay for it. Don't buy it. Buy groceries, right? I that's something.
Did you see the idiot message our joint account before that he asked for a price on my Mallrats poster? And typically, I'll never give a price. I'm negotiating against myself. I always feel like use the best offer. And then, of course, the idiot said, "Oh well, I don't get paid until Thursday. I just wanted a ballpark figure." So I threw a number at him, and of course, at least he actually responded. Most of the times they don't. But he's like, "Oh, I don't think I can handle that." I was like, "What'd you think?" I was going to say, "Oh, for my $400 poster, I'll do $38." Even that he probably couldn't have paid me until Thursday for. But
I mean, there's a lot of that. There's a lot of it,
Yeah.
And I know it comes with the territory for selling this stuff. It does, but I'm
How do you
really
manage? How do you manage to not lose your you know what on these people? Which I know it's hard sometimes not to. How do you try to be calm when they're just annoying?
I was like, why would you bleep lose my cool? But you meant something else.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't see. I mean, it doesn't make me mad. It's just dumb. So I don't get mad about it. I just kind of roll my eyes. And I don't. Are you honestly? A lot of these people I don't answer. I just don't respond. And I know that's like not the best customer service tactic to not respond, but as a general rule, if I'm not responding to your customer service email, it's because your email is annoying. That's the best I can say. Because I don't expect to actually receive your business. I expect to receive endless questions from you and no business at all. And look, and that's it's fine. It is what it is. If you can't pay, you can't pay. I'm not really interested in making friends. I have enough friends. I don't.
You don't try to make friends on eBay?
I don't. It's so funny because I remember one time people made fun of me for this. Someone had emailed me a sob story about because if you sell on eBay, you for long enough you will receive sob stories. They're kind of inevitable. But someone had sent me a sob story on eBay about their kid who had some kind of disability, and they were really excited to buy this item from me. Blah 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 blah. And I was reading it, and I was like, "Oh, what's the angle?" Because usually you get these stories about people's disabilities. They're trying to get a discount, but this one really wasn't asking for anything. They were just like letting me know. I don't know why, whatever. And but I'll never forget this one because like I sent the thing out, and like a month or two later, I got an email that just had a link, and it said my daughter made a video on YouTube unboxing this, and we thought you might like it. And I actually got a huge kick out of it because it was real. And it was like, all right, so there are some people out there who are just trying to, make a human connection. I don't even really mind that. That doesn't bother me. It bothers me when it's just a complete scam for money. And it's like,
Yeah.
I have a problem with people who are addicted to luxury goods who can't buy them. And it's like, I don't mean to gatekeep this kind of stuff, and everyone should have the right to pursue whatever they love. Like I understand all that, but at the same time, there's some basic common sense at play here. I'm not going to sell you something that is very valuable to me for cheap because you can't pay the full price. I don't know another way to say that. I'm not going to personally take a loss for your benefit. Like I'm sorry, I am, but I'm not doing that.
But yeah, I for one am very interested to see how this dismantling of your collection goes, and I just want to ask a question that perhaps our listeners are wondering: does this mean, since you are selling off your collection, does this mean that people are going to not see your smiling face at conventions anymore?
No, I mean I'm still going to go. A lot of them. I mean, there are some. Like for example, so a weird thing is happening with the scheduling of cons, and this is something that we have talked about before. Let's talk about March, for example. So last year, I was at Big Event in March. I was at Monster Mania in March. I squeaked by at Big Event at the end, but I kept like 1:00, but I was there. This year, the dates that Big Event and Monster Mania now fall on the same dates.
Yeah, that's a problem. That is a big problem long term.
So when you have these cons that are big, that draw from the Northeast, that are on the same weekend, I mean, and it just so happens that weekend that they are, I'm totally unavailable due to my day job. So I'm not going to be at Monster Mania Cherry Hill. I'm not going to be at Big Event, and that's just the truth. And honestly, if down the line, New York Comic Con this year was lovely, but if we're looking at New York Comic Con and they keep running the same dates as the other event that we were very successful at this year, it's going to be hard to go for New York Comic Con over another event, right?
Yeah, I'm with you there.
And so it really depends. And I think that the Sopranos thing. I'm honestly being sick. Yeah, if I wasn't sick, I would have gone, and then I would have just been mad. So in a
Yeah.
way, it was a relief that I was sick. That I have to deal with the nonsense of it. I'm glad I have to deal with the nonsense of it. And I'm kind of dreading the Bill Murray thing, even though I think it'll be fine. I'm just
Yeah.
dreading that trick trek to the city for a 15-second photo op with Bill Murray, who looks. I mean, I've seen the. If you look at the photo ops from the other dates, the photo ops are fine, but it looks ridiculous. I mean, you have to agree with me there, right?
What do you mean he looks ridiculous? He looks half dead, but that's sort of
Right.
his charm.
He looks half dead. He's wearing a snow cap, a beanie. It just he looks drunk. Like it just the whole thing is just
Well,
it's
listen,
farcical.
he's got to hear himself sing, so he better be drunk.
I mean, it's just a farce, and I know there's an excitement. Right now, I'm in a mode where I'm telling you right now, I'm not looking forward to that either.
I'm
And
saying,
so
yeah, if you were there last night, you may have headbutted at Michael Imperioli. Like, it's probably a good thing that you weren't there. But
and
yeah,
especially because he ruined the Sopranos. Uh, but
he sat on the
I'm
Sopranos like it was Cosette.
yeah. Thinking about what's coming up in the near future, I'm a little bit down on spending my own money. I enjoyed going to the cons. I enjoy the experience. But I definitely the collecting piece of it. I need to take a step back from. And honestly, for me, and this is something that you and I have always disagreed about, I get just as much pleasure out of selling my collection that I do out of amassing it. I actually get a ton of pleasure from selling stuff. It really excites me when someone buys something and they really like because my pieces. I can see when I see like someone buys something from me and then they post about it on Facebook, which happens all the time, by the way. I'll see like someone buys a Funko for me and then they post on Facebook like my new gets this week or whatever. Like I've seen it happen so many times. Then there are like stuff that I know mine is the only one out there. For example, there's a particular Homelander. There's a particular Homelander Funko from The Boys, Anthony Starr, and I had him do very particular quotes that looked a particular way, and I know that mine are the only ones out there that look like this, and so there's one dude who always posts his collection, and I see mine in his collection. And I'm like, oh, it's funny to me, I know what mine looks like, and he always posts it, and he always gets a lot of props, and justifiably so. Because it's cool and I know my stuff looks good, so that it brings me satisfaction. I would love to know if anyone out there knows who bought my Winged Eagle belt that was signed by all the champs. I sold that thing for $5,000. I would love to find out who bought that. I know
that would bother me if I found people that bought my stuff, even stuff I feel good about selling. I think I'd be like, oh crap, I got to buy it back. Like it would just bother me.
Oh no, I mean, I know I sold
that DNA strand.
My SVU jacket I sold to this wonderful woman. She was so nice. And I know who it went to. I know she's a huge fan of the show. So that was a cool thing. Like when I know that I'm selling it to someone who has a particular collection, when I'm selling it to some lowballing addict or some some reseller, it's like, okay, whatever, do your thing. I don't care. Like it doesn't bother me, but it doesn't give me any juice. But when I'm selling it to someone who appreciates, because again, I have very specific tastes in my collecting style. And so when I see someone who appreciates and pays a premium for my tastes, then I get a kick out of it.
I can appreciate that. All right, so before we take it on home, I have one topic I want to get into really quickly. I don't honestly even know how I'm going to really get into this, but it needs to be said. I just feel like it needs to be said. We for obvious reasons, we don't get super into the vendors out there that sell fake autographs. For political reasons, just for the fact that you're wasting your breath, it doesn't pay. And I'm not going to change that now. But there is a seller out there that is just one of the greatest sellers, really great stuff. I personally have bought a ton of stuff from them over the years. And I have all my saved searches. I go through eBay, and I went on their page the other day. And I noticed that they have a lot of new stuff. And this is not stuff from them. This is stuff from one of the big sources of fake goods. And it's just depressing and disheartening to see. Like I said, I'm not calling them out. I have no desire to. I have no evidence. But it's like if you know the stuff that the known forgers sell, it's clear as day. And it's just depressing and is on a level of like as a consumer. Because even though I'm up here, we sell stuff. I am a consumer. I buy stuff every week. Like, Sean, you were a collector. Now you're kind of not. But I mean, I am a collector. So just you can't even trust reputations at this point blindly. Just try to be aware as you can of like what's real, what's fake. The people that do sell fakes, try to be aware of what their stuff looks like, the types of items they sell, the colors they have them signed in. Be aware, because if you could spot what the fake is without even needing to know who's selling it, that goes a long way. That just
It's very depressing. In
yeah.
This particular story is depressing because the person who is offering the stuff for sale now has always been a person who's been beyond reproach, right?
Yeah.
Their stuff has been excellent. We know because they ran signings for years. They have a lot of stuff that was signed firsthand, and you bought a lot of like key pieces of your collection from them because you know they had it done at their store or through their contacts. And now when they're sourcing, I mean, the guy's not dumb. He knows he's sourcing from someone who's faking, right? Doesn't he know? He has to know.
He has to. And it's one of those things I know we always have, and I don't think I've ever said this on the air, but we always joke that maybe one day we reach a level on this podcast where we don't care about the politics and we will scorch earth and call out everyone that needs to be called out and just not care about any of it. And this is a situation where even if we were at that level, I still wouldn't want to. Like, it's weird. Like, I know, I'm 99% sure they know what they're doing. But it's like, I still just have such, like, esteem for what they've done. Like, I wouldn't. I just wouldn't. Like, maybe I'm soft in that regard. I just wouldn't want to call them out. But it just upsets me. It's disappointing. Like, all those things. So as a consumer, anywhere you shop, just be aware of what you're buying. Look very close. And I'm saying that as
rule number
one.
Rule number one, buy the signature. Do not buy the source. Do not buy the sticker. Buy the signature. Okay?
Yes.
That's rule number one. If the signature looks good, then check it against the source. If the signature and the source look good, a sticker is a bonus. Also, consider the price. Okay? If the price is too low, that should be a red flag. Not saying that you can't get steals, but if the price is too low,
if the price is too low intentionally, like if it's not like an auction that goes wrong or like a fan that doesn't know any better, if you have a person that seems to professionally do this and they are aiming for a price that's too low consistently, that's a problem.
If you have someone who's been in this business for years, who all of a sudden acquires fresh stock of rare items and prices them low, alarm sirens should go off.
Yes.
In your head. And don't just rush to think, well, this person has always been beyond reproach, because all it takes is a bad source. And if you have a bad source, or I always had a problem with that, was that the good sources were not willing to call out the bad sources in this hobby. The people who they were willing to say, if you know, you know. And we've had private conversations with people to that effect, if you know, you know. And there are some people, out there who continue to allow this to go on, and it's very sad. And the truth of it is, and I think this is important for us to understand. The reason why we're not naming names is because us naming names right now would not do anyone any good. What would happen would be what happens is fans who buy fake stuff, the worst thing they can hear for their ego is to be told that the stuff that they bought is actually fake. And so they will die. They will go to the ends of the earth defending this junk as real. And so what happens every time, and these people have been called out in public, and every time they get called out in public, the same thing happens. There are legions upon legions of buyers who've bought things from them on the cheap, come out of the woodwork to defend them, even though everyone who knows that those things cannot pass TPA. The reason why this fresh flood of new stuff that hasn't been stickered is on the market is because the stuff is fake. Or worse, what's also happening is sometimes they'll go to a PSA rep who doesn't know any better, because PSA has in more recent times hired some less trained folks and people who don't really know, and they're willing to sticker stuff based on the vendor's reputation and things like that. And so they're willing to take advantage of an inexperienced TPA rep, and you'll get a bunch of stuff like that. But a lot of this stuff is being sold unstickered and to a reasonably trained eye. they're obvious fakes. Again, if you're talking about premium items in premium paint markers under premium circumstances sold at below premium prices, that's a problem. And
Yeah.
it's something that, again, if we could, this is not about self-preservation. I know we can name these names right now. The fans would come out of the woodwork, and somehow we would get tainted as the bad guys for doing
we'd
that.
be jealous. We're haters. We're not experts. All of these things, people are going to believe what they want to believe, and it just is what it is. So just be aware, and yeah, there's really nothing else to say on that.
It really means educate yourself. Educate yourself. Look at 10 or 15 or 20 stickered exemplars of this person. Pay attention to things like the thickness of the pen, the speed with which they sign. You'll notice that there are certain signatures, even people go, how can you tell they look nothing alike? There are certain features that look the same in every single one. And the S looks the same in every single one. The way they dot their I looks the same in every single. There are little things that you can't help but notice.
No.
Those are
and
your clues.
I'm sure you've noticed this as well, but like when you do enough stuff with like enough signings with these people and you see enough signatures, like I personally feel like anytime we've done any sort of a bulk, a private, whatever, a direct booking, who cares, with any of these people, and you see 20, 30, 100 signatures from them, I could spot real versus fake anywhere, on any platform, any day of the week, because you see tells and you see the signature variations, and like you said, the consistencies and what you have to look for. Even if it looks completely different or is quicker or whatever, there's always going to be certain similarities. And for a lot of fans, they don't know that. And that goes even for us. Don't just open up Marked Out Collectibles eBay and say, well, I trust Marked Out Collectibles. This is real. Like, yes, that is real from us, but educate yourself, like you said. Look at different examples. Try to learn what it looks like. Don't just trust someone because of their name.
You know, it's funny. I saw on Rack the other day on the Facebook group, someone posted an example of why it's hard to judge celebrity autographs, and it made me laugh. It was a Sarah Silverman autograph, and they posted that she was selling signed posters at the merch table, and then they also were able to get her backstage, and they were very, very different. One was a short graph, one was a long graph, right?
Yeah.
And the funny thing was, they go, you see that you can't tell the difference, but you could never tell these were signed by the same person. And I didn't have the heart to say, if you looked at those two signatures, you absolutely could tell they were signed by the same person, because they had certain features that were identical. Yeah. They were not the same. One of them was a short graph, one of them was a long one, but there were certain features, again, if you know what to look for, that were the same. And so they were very clearly both authentic. Just one of them was long, one of them was a long form, one of them wasn't. And you will see there are people who absolutely sign much slower sitting down than they do standing up. You know, a good example, I'm going way over now, but this is a funny one. So years ago, I got, when Bernie Sanders was running for president in 2020, I don't know if we even talked about this. I think we did. His campaign posted on Instagram that if you mailed an item to his campaign headquarters, when he stopped in, he would sign all your items and send them back. Do you remember that being on Instagram, a thing?
No, that's like a wild campaign promise. But no, I don't remember that.
So yeah, so I bought one of those Bernie Sanders, they call it like those action figures, the political action figures. I didn't have the Funko because the Funko went out of production and got pretty expensive. But I sent the action figure and I mailed it in. Figure I would never get it back because whatever. But it was like $12. It's no big deal. It was a hope and a prayer. And in the interim, I had commissioned someone a trusted consigner who lived in Iowa to get me some stuff done, some 8x10s done in Iowa, because that was where he was campaigning heavily at the beginning of the campaign. And I got a bunch of 8x10s done from this Rack trusted seller, everything good, great, whatever. And I got, so out of the blue, like 8 months later, 6 months later, a long time in, the time all blurs together. But anyway, I got a package back from Sanders for president, and lo and behold, in the package was that action figure signed. And I looked at it and I compared it to the rushed signatures. I'm like, it doesn't look like it at all. But then I started really looking at the features, right? And then there were certain features, certain angles, certain the speed with which he signs between certain letters. And you go, you know what? It's just a slow sit down signature as opposed to a quick signature when he's standing up, in a crowd. And so it's kind of interesting to see that.
And that shows that possessing this ability and this knowledge to see that this is not some skill like, in just implanted in you from the heavens. Or it's not like saying, well, go outside and shoot baskets long enough and you'll be as good as Michael Jordan. This is something that anyone with working eyes can really do. You can get to a point and a place in your knowledge that you can sort of tell good versus bad and be able to see similarities. You just have to make the effort. You at first didn't see a similarity, and then you looked and you studied it, and now you're able to comfortably see that. Like, we can develop this skill on our own.
Yeah. Are you going to get it right 100% of the time? No. Do really, really good fakes exist out there? Yes. Are there cases where people have an off day, or they're drinking or whatever, or they're sick and they sign badly? Yes. What, Dana, you and I were looking at something the other day where we were both convinced that it was good and everyone else said it was bad. What was it?
The Charlie Hunnam Funko.
Yes, that's right. Someone on Funko Autograph Society, yeah.
Yeah, someone had an auction for Charlie Hunnam's Sons of Anarchy Funko. And apparently it sold really low, it was uncertified, and the person sent the picture in for one of the quick reviews. I think it was Beckett. And they said no, because they didn't like that the line was like kind of shaky, which would sort of imply it was done slowly, and that is a tell usually for forgery. But your Charlie and a lot of others, that's the way he signs that surface. It looked 95% good. There was really very little I didn't like about it. And the seller seemed genuine. He was talking about where he was, and it looked so close. Honestly, I actually meant to message that guy and like try to lowball him, which is funny given the topic of the episode, try to buy it on the cheap. But I actually completely forgot until you brought it up. Now
it looked good. It looked good to me. And but what's funny was person after person after person was like, "No sticker, it's bad. No sticker, it's bad. It's shaky, it's bad." And then when you start pulling out you got to use exemplars. And there's no other. You have to use them, and you have to know what you're looking for. Is it possible it was fake? It was possible it was fake. It really was possible.
There's skilled forgers out there.
But there were enough features that it had that I liked that I think it was reasonable. And it was an auction. It wasn't like a low buy it now or anything. It was an auction. And so this is one of those things where, these people are very quick to say no. This is also a case where, if you take a risk on uncertified stuff at auction, you can actually come out with some cool stuff if you know what you're looking for. Train yourself. Do a lot of homework. Read, and study. That's it.
Agreed.
So again, we have a couple things coming up, just us. We have that Pro Wrestling Junkie show on January 26th. Come say hello if you're out there in Ridgefield Park, New Jersey at the Mecca. Also, we're doing that Bill Murray meet and greet at his concert. That's February 15th. And what else do we have? So we have to make these announcements because you did the legwork here. Well, I guess one of the talents, he kind of like did the legwork himself, basically tried to, get in, but we have some more ID signings coming up.
Yeah, and I'm just insanely excited about this. I love the ID like Twitter page with the videos. This to me is extremely, because pre-COVID I loved Evolve. I loved Evolve and what it represented. You had the up and coming talent. They were accessible, and now we have the NXT Evolve, which is run by Gabe Sapolsky, and that's where all these guys will presumably be. So we have added to our ID docket. We have Sam Holloway. Then this is a big guy. This guy, I think he's like 6'6", 6'7". He's big.
Big
he's
dude,
young. Yeah. He is going to be a problem. He's athletic. This guy is the real deal. He will be coming to, we still need to give your place a nickname. The Marked Out Collectibles Superdome, maybe.
We're going to come up with that off air, yeah.
Yeah, we'll come up with it. But he is coming to your headquarters. We have Jack Summit, who goes by Jack Cartwheel. This guy's been in AEW. This guy's been in GCW. He is one of the more innovative high flyers out there. And like when you think about decades past, like the RVDs and Billy Kidmans and these different just really just exciting performers. this guy is on that list for today. He's really good. And we have him. He is also, we will be with him in February. So those are up on the website. And in addition to them, we have Brad Baylor, we have Zeta Steele, we have Jackson Drake, we have Marcus Mathers. The majority of those are due in late January. Brad Baylor is due in early February. And the other ones that we just announced are due a few weeks after that. And then we have talent coming that are not on an ID list yet, but I am reasonably confident they will be on TV somewhere in the near future. We have Charles Mason, we have Brittany Brooks, and we have Emily J. They are all due January 24th. And as we say over and over again, once these guys hit TV and the pre-orders end, these prices are going up. You want to say we're greedy, you want to say whatever, that's the point. At this point, we are crowdfunding any sort of goodwill you want to support and pre-order early, you get the best price. Once this NXT Evolve hits and they start moving up the ladder, prices go up. Don't hesitate. We had a lot of orders this week. Keep placing those orders. Get your stuff done the way you want, and then just sit back and watch them rise.
If you don't believe us, go follow the WWE ID Twitter account and go watch the Zeta Steele promo, right? Go watch the Brad Baylor promos. They are investing in these people. There's no question in my mind. They're going to invest in them. They're going to make sure that these are name players. They're not harvesting these people just for fun. These people are going to cause a bidding war once they're ready. And you could see in some ways they're not ready yet. But the point is to pre-identify for us who that next generation is. The era of the Dave Bautista basically getting ready in Ohio Valley and then popping up and being ready to go. Those days are over, with the internet and stuff, or John Cena basically coming through Ohio Valley and then, suddenly being a TV star. Those days are over. Now they need to identify these people early. They need to, and they're following in a lot of ways what the old Japanese system was, which was identify their talent very early, let them work, send them around to work as many different promotions and as many different geographic locations as they can, with the understanding that when you're ready, we're going to make you an offer. And I love that. I really think it's great.
This isn't even tough enough from years past where you'd look at the lineups and you'd be like, all right, well, there's maybe one or two guys that are good and the rest are just whatever, just like jabronis to fill out the ranks. These guys, if you pull up any of their Instagrams from top to bottom on that ID list, these guys, if WWE doesn't sign them all long term, AEW will. These guys are all dynamite. They're good. And they haven't even been in a promo class at a performance center. A lot of these guys are starting out and they're so new and they're still you could tell they have more it than a lot of people on television.
Well, what's great is these are the guys and gals, these are the ones who are coming through the indie pathway. So these are not going to, the WWE is they're still going after the D1 athletes. The D1 athletes are not going to be in the ID program. They're in that other program. They're in that they're getting those pre-contracts as D1 athletes. This is totally different. These are the people who are coming up through the indies. So these are going to be your next CM Punks, These are going to be your next Bryan Danielson. That's who we're looking at here. Not necessarily your next, Brock Lesnar. That's a whole different pathway. I think I haven't been this excited about wrestling and that whole stream of the business in a really long time. All right. So if you're shopping for autographs, check out www.markedoutcollectibles.com or our eBay store at Marked Out Collectibles. Or if you want to check out me selling off my my autograph collection, check out NY Collectibles as well. To contact us for any reason, please email markedoutcollectibles@gmail.com or join the Marked Out Collectibles official marketplace on Facebook. So that about does it for this week. Any last words?
No, I think we covered a whole lot of topics.
All right, so for markedout.com, Marked Out Collectibles, and Marked Out Radio, I'm Sean.
I'm Dana.
And we'll see you next week.